And keep your dreams. Don't let them be shattered and broken and strewn all about. Dream to change the world for the better. Walk on. With fresh hope in your heart.
With hope in your heart.
You'll never walk
and
alone. Under Almighty God, we are together here with the Unity Labour Party in solidarity with you, and the Comrade ain't going nowhere. Good morning, St. Vincent and the Grenadines, comrades, friends, brothers and sisters. Good morning, the Caribbean. I hail up the leaders of the region and the people. My brothers and sisters in Haiti, I pray for you all the time.
Through a storm,
North America,
hold your head
Britain and Europe,
up high.
Eastern Europe and Russia, and Africa and Asia. My Indian brothers, my brothers and sisters in Pakistan and Bangladesh, in Nepal, in Indonesia, in Vietnam, in Taiwan, everywhere, in Australia, and in New Zealand. And our brothers and sisters in Central and South America. We're going to have a wonderful program today.
Through your dreams, be tossed.
Oh yes, even though your dreams are tossed and strewn about, keep them. Don't just sleep to dream to change the world for the better.
You'll hope in your heart,
fresh hope in your heart,
and you'll never,
under God, you know you'll never walk alone. In this earthly city, the Comrade and the Unity Labour Party are here. Oh yes. Well, I'm very happy yet again to be with you today. As usual, I have a few preliminary comments before I get into the details with some burning issues. I begin by congratulating the finalists in the primary school cricket competition. South of us, Methodist School is again in the finals. We are the defending champions in South of us, you know. And we again meeting Oya. I thought we were going to have Oya Primary. I thought we were going to have Georgetown Primary, so that we have an all North Central Windward final. But we have a North Central and North Windward final tomorrow at Park Hill. Well, I love the boys at Oya, but they would have to appreciate tomorrow that are rooting for South of us, as I did last time, and I met them when they played at South of us, when they had their presentation. I'm unlikely to be at the game tomorrow because I have to be traveling. But I'm going to try and see if I can get the principal today of South of us Methodist School, a wonderful lady, Roslyn Johnny, to give the boys and all the teachers associated with preparing the South of us Methodist School cricketers for the finals tomorrow. You're in my heart, you're in my mind, you're in my being. I love you. Same thing for my young friends at Oya who on the team. But you know, I have to defend South of us. Yeah, please forgive me. I represent them in Parliament, and there's a strong bond between the Comrade and the boys in South Rivers and the primary school there. Also with Oya, I mentioned, but I know Grace Walters would prefer Oya to win. You know, Sister Grace, we'll have a healthy competition tomorrow. I want to congratulate those students who are graduating at all levels. We haven't received the results for the CSEC yet. We'll get that in August, and for the what used to be called the O levels, fifth formers and the Cape, we wouldn't get those results yet. But the graduation's taken place, and I want to congratulate all of them from all levels, from preschool all the way up, and very much so the university graduates. I know students have been receiving their grades already, and there's some students that I know have been getting some excellent grades across campuses of UWI and elsewhere, including in Taiwan. I must tell you, I feel a special joy when all these students, they're so bright, so good, so successful, that the Unity Labour Party government, and I personally have been so much involved in pushing the education revolution and having scholarships and support systems put in place for all of these students, that it fills my heart with real joy, and I want to congratulate them and their parents and everybody who involved. Please, you get a chance, shout me, I'm at Goss. You know, all of you belong to me. All of you, I love you very much. I'm not talking politics. I'm talking about something which is higher than that. Now, I notice that there's a buzz with persons who have been appointed as acting permanent secretaries. Let me say this. Throughout the 25 years that I've been in government, and in governments before, we have appointed, not we, the Public Service Commission under our watch. And in particularly for permanent secretaries where there's a role for the Prime Minister. We have appointed the Public Service Commission, we've appointed dozens upon dozens of permanent secretaries. And it is a cause for celebration in the individual cases. But this government is behaving as though it's an immense achievement. Bling. To have acting people appointed either as permanent secretaries or acting permanent secretaries. You have to have a permanent secretary in the ministry. And the personnel department, the CPO's office, would be dealing with this in conjunction with the various ministries and with the cabinet secretary who is head of the public service. I don't know where this is seen as some achievement of the NDP government to have permanent secretaries appointed. Heavenly Father, this is just normal. This is ordinary governance. But if you have anything to boast about, you have to boast about appointment of permanent secretaries. Come on, man, come on. I want to congratulate all of those who have received appointments from the Public Service Commission. I want to say that from the names that I've seen, all these persons as permanent secretaries who have been appointed during the entire near 25 years of my tenure as Prime Minister are persons of merit and worth. Some have performed exceptionally well, some have performed good, and some have been not as good. You have unevenness in performance. But every single one of the persons has been a person of merit and achievement and worth. And so do these persons, these men and women who are public servants who have been appointed. I'm not going to pull them down. What I'm going to say is this, that because, by the way, a number of them, in fact, practically all of them, have been beneficiaries. In fact, every one of them, as far as I know, has been a beneficiary of the education revolution. And they've received promotions to particular offices during the ULP tenure. Received the promotions through the Public Service Commission. And what will happen, there will be discussion for permanent secretaries, where there's a succession plan between the chief personnel officer and the cabinet secretary and other relevant public servants, and then they'll have a discussion with the prime minister, and the matters would then go to the Public Service Commission in relation to permanent secretaries. I'm not talking about other positions, because the prime minister has a constitutional role in respect of permanent secretaries. Now, we must not also assume that everybody who is appointed at any time, during the time when I was prime minister and now, is supportive of this party or that party. The number of persons whom we appointed during our period, by the Public Service Commission, some of them I know who they support, and some I didn't know who they support. And I have found that the public servants, the permanent secretaries, have overwhelmingly, on an ongoing basis, done good work for St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And this current idea that they must fall in line or resign, the kind of rhetoric from Leacock and other members inside of the public inside of the political directorate, the NDP government, is just completely out of order. You notice I am not pulling down any one of them who has received their appointments. I've explained it just now why. This doesn't mean that there were not other worthy candidates to be considered, and there are some persons who would feel that they were hard done by, that A or B got promoted ahead of them. John and Mary got promoted ahead of them, and they will feel disappointed. But your turn will come. Do your work, even though you're disappointed. I want to advise that. Do your work in accordance with the law and the regulations of the public service. You're not there to do the bidding of any politician. We are a government in our country of laws and not of men and women. And policies to be implemented have to have a juridical basis, a legal basis. So I just want to say all of those things. I want to say further though, that some of the persons who have been appointed, I know that they are technical people. To move from a technical job to go to a job of a permanent secretary is a different order of business. In your technical corner, you didn't have to know all the financial regulations. You didn't have to read the Finance Administration Act and know all the regulations. You didn't have to know all the rules of the public service, all the regulations, all the laws governing. Certain kinds of documents to be prepared under the direction of the permanent secretary. If you're in your technical corner, you would not have been addressing those. So that you have a learning curve. I want to say that to you. And you have to bone up on these things. If you don't, you're going to have people who are below you, who know more about you, more on these things than about you. And if you don't manage properly and you're not humble enough to learn, you're not going to achieve much. You're not going to perform as well as you should perform. What concerns me is that I understand there are one or two persons who are acting, who have not retained their acting positions, have been put back to their previous position. No, I don't know of anybody who was acting who was not deserving of continuing in their positions. So that a sour taste is left in the case of certainly at least one person who was acting and who has not retained the acting position. And reasonable persons may say that political considerations intervened rather than competence. And the political directorate would have to answer for that, or in those cases. Because you notice how I have been reasonable about all these appointments, Bling. And I'm wishing every one of them well. I know them, and some of them who have been appointed are excellent organizers, excellent administrators. I know some have been not yet tested because of the technical work which they have been doing. Tested, I'm talking about in terms of managerial roles. Because there's a difference between specialists and generalists, between specialists and technical persons and managers and leaders of a ministry administratively. There are different differences, and there are different sets of skills which are required. Not only I used to teach this business at university, I've had a lot of experience over the years, particularly serving nearly 25 years as the Prime Minister of this country. So I know what I'm talking about. So congratulations to those who have received the appointments or acting appointments. And persons who have not been advanced, I don't know whether you had a better case for advancement than some who have advanced. I advise you, don't take your setback and turn it into an advance. Just the good Lord would bless the public servant who reasonably waits his or her turn. And we will see how these who have been appointed or who act or who have acting appointments, how they will perform. And we all would be watching. No. I want to remind everybody that we are in the 2026 Atlantic hurricane season. You got to take this thing seriously. We know what has been happening in recent years. And we have an active season. And I always say it's only one major storm you need to hit you, Whether it's above average or below average, active. It's active. It's an active season. And you have to be prepared at the family level, as much as you can, the community level. And NEMO, which this government, this ULP government, And I personally, I piloted the bill, for NEMO. We established NEMO. There was nothing like that before, and we have strengthened it. And we have made sure that supportive institutions like CDEMA, the Caribbean Disaster Emergency Management Agency, that we have been there for them. Similarly, for the Caribbean Institute for Hydrology and Meteorology, important institutions. They also, we have supported them well with not voluntary funding, but funding which is mandated as compulsory by the Parliament. There are 20 such institutions, and I had piloted such a law. I want to say, I want to speak to the issue of the constitutional motion, just briefly, which was filed by the entity known as Duncan Gonsalves Legal Chambers and Policy Advisory. I saw a report in the St. Vincent Times when they have it as Duncan Gonzalez. That's a misspelling. It's Duncan Gonsalves Legal Chambers and Policy Advisory. Now, the three live flesh and blood persons who are in that body, that firm, are Karen Duncan Gonsalves, wife of Camilo, and yours truly, Ralph. And they were very much involved in the preparation of the constitutional motion, the application for constitutional redress under Section 16 of the Constitution, where we are seeking, among other things, a declaration that Section 43 of the Criminal Procedure Code, insofar as it excludes persons charged with murder from eligibility for ordinary judicial consideration for bail, that it is inconsistent with several provisions in the Bill of Rights section of the Constitution and is void to the extent of such inconsistency. And alternatively, we are seeking the declaration that this impugned Section 43 must be read, construed, or modified to preserve judicial discretion to consider bail applications by persons charged with murder. And the further declaration that automatic or near automatic detention solely by reason of the offense charge violates the constitutional right to personal liberty, constitutional right of a presumption of innocence, constitutional right of the protection of the law, and the right to a fair hearing within a reasonable time. And, of course, we are seeking an order from the court to permit the claimant, and Anthony Thomas, the 16-year-old, to apply before a court exercising a full jurisdiction for bail, to apply for bail, and for such other relief as the court may consider just in all the circumstances. And these are elaborated in other documents filed. The matter is that this 16-year-old was charged on the first for attempted murder and then subsequently for murder. The charge for murder dates from the 14th or thereabouts of May, and she has been in custody at Belial since then, at the Belial Correctional Facility. And the current law is that you can't at least the Section 43 of the Criminal Procedure Code. So bail can't be considered by the court for murder unless there's been a preliminary inquiry or 9 months have elapsed since you have been charged. But we are saying that is a fetter on your constitution, on the person's constitutional rights. No. I've seen commentaries have been drawn to my attention, very supportive of what we are doing from a policy standpoint. And there have been comments of a real infantile and nature, and some of it really misguided, and some people who have made some comments. I have no responsibility for the distorted nature of their minds. Now, when I was Minister of National Security and Prime Minister, I made the point that in jurisdictions, not in ours, in jurisdictions where bail for murder was allowed, there have been cases drawn to my attention where the judges have been too liberal. But I never at any time say the judges shouldn't have a discretion to grant or withhold bail. I only said that there's some cases which have been drawn to my attention which raised eyebrows as to whether the exercise of the discretion in a particular direction was one which appeared to reasonable persons to have been sung. And I'm quite sure that there would continue to be commentaries one way or the other on the exercise of judicial discretion. But that doesn't mean you shouldn't have the judicial discretion. Parliament shouldn't ban it in the case of the allowing the judge to have a discretion in relation to bail for murder accused, because there are different types of murders and there are different circumstances and different individuals. So a blanket on here, blanket one. Given the way in which the law has evolved, certainly in the 21st century, we have a strong case to make the application which we are making. It's not a frivolous application. It's a sound application on behalf of a 16-year-old who in my view should not be in prison. And as a lawyer, I'm very much activist in this particular matter. For this now to be critiqued on some obtuse and irrelevant basis, and vulgar basis, really show up the mindset of some of those critics. The point is this: it has been drawn to my attention that there was one occasion hitherto that there was an attempt for an argument of this kind to be presented to the court, but the DPP had dropped the charge from murder to manslaughter, and the person got bail, and therefore the issue didn't arise to any finality. But this is a matter which sensible people should be pleased is happening, and I think you didn't have it challenged before, because sometimes I've been advised sometimes the case is not appropriate, or that the lawyer, the amount of money that persons would have wanted for a constitutional challenge. Well, the family didn't have it, but there's no such situation in this case. Ronnie Marks and I, insofar as the criminal case is concerned, we are providing our services free of cost. And insofar as the constitutional challenge is concerned, the whole of Duncan Gonsalves, law chambers, and policy advisory, that is to say, Karen, Camilo, and myself, plus Ronnie Marks of Marks and Marks, providing work free. And that is done because of my own initiative in responding to the family of this young lady. And as I've explained before, I've known the family for donkey years, since I'm a little boy, you know. So known the great-grandparents, and the great-grandfather and I went to primary school together. So this is one which is one more than money, you know, and to be doing this, to be critiqued unreasonably. Why there's some people, even though I helping them go in heaven, if I pray for them to go to heaven, because Lord answers prayer, but He did makes the determination. Some of them might tell me, don't pray for me. I don't want you to pray for me. Eh? Eh? What you gonna do with some people? Some people bad-minded, just bad-minded. Eh?
True.
And they must search themselves. Anyway, I've been advised that the DPP and the Attorney General have been served, because I'll be told today, hopefully by Ronnie, who's very busy in the High Court, that in the criminal courts that there has been a service done on the DPP and the Attorney General. Well, the Parliament is scheduled for the 18th. We got the information last Thursday, the 4th. Thursday, I think, was the 4th. Thursday afternoon, I got the information. But I have requested through the Speaker that consideration be given to putting forward this sitting of the Parliament until the 25th, 26th or thereabouts, or maybe the 29th. 29th would be ideal, provided it doesn't offend any, and I don't see how it could offend any legislative calendar for the government. And I asked that, and this has happened before in my experience. That I've asked that because I have some overseas commitments, but during that period, which I want to fulfill. But we have sent questions. Senators Carlos James and Kisal Peters and the Comrade, we have sent questions for oral and written answers. In my case, the full quota of 3 questions for oral answers and 4 for written answers. The first question, 3 for oral answers, I'm asking some questions about the mining down in Walilabu River, down at Rosa River. And then that's of the Minister of Nigel Stevenson, Minister of Works and Infrastructure. And I'm asking 2 questions of the Prime Minister, Minister of Finance. One relating to the $200 million in local loans, how much raised thus far, the terms of the borrowing, and the how much capital and recurrent spending come from those local loans. And I'm asking how much money that the government owes Rubis and Sal since January to the current time, January this year, on the fuel for diesel, gasoline, LPG. And I ask 4 questions for written answers. One concerning the progress at Arnesville Acute Care Hospital. That's one. One about Chatham Bay, whether the the lands, 100 acres have been sold, and if so, at what price? Also, those are the one on the hospital is to Daniel Cummins. The other one on the land there is to Prime Minister and Minister of Finance. To the Minister of Sports, I asked about the overall cost for hosting and staging the 3 CPL games scheduled for August 2026. We don't know the money yet. And one question for written answer too for the Minister of Housing about how many houses they have built and repaired since December the 1st last year. Carlos James, Senator James, has submitted similarly the full quota of questions, 3 for written answers, oral answers, and 4 for written answers. Those for written answers, for oral answers, had to do with inflation impact on the low-income households. That's directed to Friday. Another one to Friday about the breakdown of all the loans contracted since 2026. And a question to Nigel Stevenson about the mining down in the Rosa Valley area, but different kinds of, similar question to what I asked, but well, it's on the same subject, but different areas. Carlos is asking different areas than what I'm asking. I'm asking some of the money parts. Carlos is asking more on the environmental areas. And then for written answers, Carlos is asking about the award, a list of all the contracts awarded by the government ministries, statutory bodies, and state-owned enterprise in excess of $250,000 since January 2026. That's to Friday. In fact, all that Carlos is asking for written answers is to Friday. One, about the number of persons employed by the government, and to provide a breakdown ministry by ministry and department. Another one, to provide the total amount spent on travel and accommodation and per diem expenses for ministers and senior public officials in the first 6 months of 2026. And another one about the number of consultants retained by the government since December 2025, terms of reference, contract values, and duration of engagement. And then Kisal has sent in she sent in 3 questions for oral answers and 2 for written answers. For oral answers, she's asking Terence Oliver about university scholarships and tuition scholarships and bursaries. Details related there too. She's asking Nigel Stevenson about the road rehabilitation project, Edinburgh Bandyways Road and the Edinburgh Avenue. She provided the details there. And she's asking about the continuation of the Great House Road, which we started. She's asking that of Nigel Stevenson also. She's asking Fitzbramble about some projects. These are written answers. Money is provided from the government of India relating to rehabilitation of the Peniston Community Centre, the Daphne Community Centre, Old Calder Community Centre, the Edinburgh Hardcourt, and for the gym at Central Leeward Secondary School. And also, he's asking Minister of Housing the names of housing assessors assigned to each constituency. So those questions I think they're already posted. If they're not posted, they'll be posted today, I think, or tomorrow on the ULP page, the party page. Now, I want to speak also to another appointment. I want to take a little longer on this, not so much about the appointment, but the appointment of Ronette Lewis, person of merit and worth, as director of the NIS from July the 1st, 2026. She's currently the chief executive officer at the Center for Enterprise Development. Good professional. And I want to make reference to a statement I think made recently and which was reported in an online publication by Stephen Joachim, the chairman of the board of the National Insurance Services. And I think, reading from what Stephen Joachim said, that I was not aware that there was a great degree of comment about it online, but he seemed to think so, and he may well be right. I haven't followed that. Apparently the gravamen of the criticism is that of the appointment was that Ronette Lewis is not an actuary, and Stuart Haynes was or is, and I want to say that Stephen Joachim was making a good point that you don't necessarily need to be an actuary to be the head of the NIS. Clearly it helps if you have all the other requisite managerial and leadership skills. To head on National Insurance Services, if you have in addition to that, to them, a part of your package of skills, actuarial skills. And I don't know, I haven't seen the reports of all who applied, but I read where Stephen Joachim said that there was a process, which I would expect for an institution like the NIS, which is $500 million in assets, that put out for applications, and 54 persons applied. 10 were shortlisted, most of them Vincentians, but I think you had other Caribbean people listed, and that there was a professional person, a consultant, to take charge of the assessments to be made with all the interviews and the CVs, everything about the candidates. And there was a ranking. Of course, a consultant's ranking doesn't mean that the individual, that the decision makers first, the people at the NIS, the board, and then the recommendation to the cabinet, and the cabinet would have to finally do the appointment. Well, give the okay. And it appears to me from what Stephen Joachim has said that there is a good process was followed, a sound process was followed, and at the end of this process, Ronette Lewis was named was appointed as director of the NIS from July the 1st. I want to say that just as I said in relation to the permanent secretaries, I'm saying so also in relation to Ronette Lewis, and even make the point stronger, because this is a good professional, and this is an individual case, so I'm not talking as I spoke just now in the general about the several persons who are appointed as permanent secretaries or acting permanent secretaries. I don't know any of the other persons who have applied. I haven't studied the matter as the consultant would have studied the matter. But there's a process, and I have to say that the process as outlined is the sort of a process which we went through when we have been selecting other persons for important offices in statutory entities or public enterprises. So you're not going to get from me opposition to Ronald Lewis. There's a Vincentian who is skilled, who has had a senior position before. That position, I happen to know that she worked very well in that position. And as far as I know of her, that she has skills to fill that position to which she has been appointed, and I think she has the temperament and the disposition to manage people and manage an institution the size of the NIS. Let me say, I don't know the other 53 candidates, and I haven't seen the assessment report. But what I don't want is for us to be adopting an attitude that every time one of our people, when I say our people, Vincentians or others who get appointed, that the first thing we do, we behave metaphorically like a crab in the barrel and try and pull everybody down. You're not going to find that from me. That was the approach of the New Democratic Party when they were in the opposition. They sought to burn down, metaphorically, every institution of governance. And their approach, a scorched earth approach. Remember what they did to Sylvia Finley? A scorched earth approach, where they went at everybody. As far as they're concerned, everybody who were permanent secretaries during the time of the ULP, they're Labour people. Well, I didn't know that. I know some people were supporters of Labour because I don't live on Mars, but other persons never revealed to me what is their, or anybody for that matter, their political support. So that they had this suspicion. And people naturally come with that same suspicion in this new period where they're in government. But I am not going to burn down the institutions of governance and democracy, good governance, which are required for the healthy development of our country. I'm not going to do that. And I'm not going to cannibalize our people. When I say our people who have been children of the education revolution, persons who have cut their eye teeth under our administration and advancing. I'm not going to pull them down. I'm not going to do that. I'm not saying that there are not other persons who could have been elevated. I'm not saying that. And I'm not saying that all those, for instance, who have been appointed to act as permanent secretaries, I gave my advice just now, especially those who are specialists, that they're coming into this area, they have a lot to bone upon. And they have to learn, and they have to be humble enough to learn. But I'm also defending the appointment of Ronald Lewis, both in respect of the process which Stephen Joachim outlined has been followed, and more importantly, the result of the process. I don't know any of the other 53. And I don't know whether those have been, those could have been good persons also to fill the position. But I happen to know the quality of this lady. I don't know her politics. I never ask her, I never hear anybody talk about her. I understand that the NDP wanted to parachute a political person, I don't know that is true, who didn't have the kinds of skills. And if they had parachuted that person, what's the rumor? I'd heard the rumor. Well, I heard two names. You would have heard me with a different talk here this morning. Because the workers' money are there, and we did too much work as a government, as a ULP government, to build up the NIS. You know, the NIS is in the strongest position today than it has ever been when we left it now. You remember when we were seeking to reform the NIS? How the NDP wanted to burn it down, metaphorically. You cannot, they wanted to appear at one and the same time as arson in burning down the institutions and the offices of good governance and democracy. Burn it down, and at the same time to be a fire brigade and engineers to rebuild. So they burn it down, and the embers which were glowing, they come to pour water on it as a fire brigade, and then say they're going to build it from scratch. Well, men and women make history, but only to the extent that the circumstances of history permit them so to make. They don't make it of their own choice, in circumstances chosen by themselves, but circumstances inherited from the past. And one of the things they inherited was an excellent NIS. And they must say that when they try to burn it down. Metaphorically. I'm not, just like how they tried to do with other permanent secretaries.
Yep.
Who were appointed during the ULP period. So, if any of these permanent secretaries who've been appointed, or anybody appointed currently, and they have crossed the line and act out of order and egregiously and don't perform and so forth, I am sure that reasonable people will make legitimate criticisms. But let we don't burn down our institutions of good governance and start to throw kerosene and gasoline and burn people and traduce them. I remember when they were traducing the cabinet secretary or standing by when other persons were traducing the cabinet secretary and cursing her online, saying some of the worst things about her. And the campaign, the bullying they carried out when they came to office and allowed some of their crazies to go at these individuals. I am
Right. With the evidence.
I'm saying that you're not going to find that level of NDP responsibility from me. But having made the point about Ronette Lewis, and look, what I'm talking here, there are some people who would say, Ralph, you had to use the same scorched earth tactics. I'm not doing that in any way or with individuals in this particular manner. You're not going to find me doing that. Not going to find me doing. There is enough for us to call for the removal of the NDP government. for them, their term to be shortened, and for them not to be there for more than one term because of how terrible they're doing. But I'm not going to join in any denunciation here. When I was discussing, when I discussed some time ago the appointments which were publicly made by Leacock before the Police Service Commission had a chance, I said I don't believe that people like Laura Anthony Brown, who is chair of the Police Service Commission, properly advised, could ever go and have Station Sergeant Smith, who was a politician, out of the force for about 5 years, and catapulted as Leacock wants him to be catapulted up to the rank of Assistant Commissioner of Police. That would mash up the police force and create a lot of problems in the police force for all kind of reasons inside the force, and also public's respect for particular officers in the police force. So I'm calling it as I see it, and I'm being completely reasonable. I know that there are persons who would say, morale for all them people who getting appointed, all of them are NDP people. I'm not going there with you. And I'm not going to say that if somebody voted for the NDP, that they can't carry out their duties as a permanent secretary with impartiality, or at least not with political partisanship. I just want to say that we have to, as far as practicable, even our small society, to maintain, quote unquote, a neutrality in political terms in the functioning of public servants, and particularly the permanent secretaries and heads of department. Now, there's some things which Eyewitness News of yesterday reported what Joachim said, and I want to make a comment because it touches on some wider issues. And Joachim may not like some of the comments which I'm going to make, because I think in his irritation at the criticism, he went to make some statements which we have to control and contain them. Otherwise, the implications are profound. Adverse implications are profound for good governance. He's reported as saying there's a lot of people who seem to know everything. You can't run a country by social media. A lot of these people on social media, they are busy criticizing you, and they have opinion about everything. Anytime, the question I would like to ask them is, what is your track record? Again, what have you accomplished in your life? What makes you think that you are in a better place to judge the actions and decisions taken by certain people when you have never been in those positions or have any idea what they're talking about? And he said also that, which I agree with, that you don't need an actuary necessarily to be the head of the NIS. Though that person who is heading the NIS must have certain levels of training and skills and management, and appreciative of what national insurance is about, have a bundle of relevant skills to lead such an institution. And of course, I know what the requirements are of that position. Mm-hmm. And from what I know, she has relevant skills to be the director of the NIS, and personality and temperament and everything. In blanking people who have been criticizing, he tried to bring me in and say, you know, my friend Ralph once made a comment, called them internet crazies. Well, the internet crazies I referred to were rabid NDP people who were just arsonists out there, metaphorically, want to burn down everything. And the people in the NDP were following them. The people in the political leadership of the NDP following them. And they even think they could direct affairs now. And you see it. Things have been drawn to my attention. But where Stephen went overboard. Stephen, when you say, you have to, before a person can criticize, you say them, what is your track record? What have you accomplished in your life? What make you think that you are in a better place to judge the actions and decisions taken by certain people when you have never been in those positions or have any idea what they're talking about? You went overboard badly there, Stephen. Because what you're saying is that only experts could have opinions. There are certain matters an expert will have an opinion on if it's a matter peculiar to his expertise.
Yep.
A heart specialist, for instance, an engineer. But that doesn't mean that ordinary mortals on some widest bundle of issues relating to engineering or medicine, they can't comment upon, because he who knows only engineering or he who knows only medicine knows no engineering or medicine. They have to know other things, because these matters are not usually cut and dry. And Stephen has come dangerously close to the position that the enlightened few must lead the vacant many. No. If you do that, you're calling for oligarchy, not democracy. You're calling for a rule by a few. Maybe that's his philosophy. But I'm just trying to tell you, if you're going there, I'm going there with you, Stephen. Government and politics and governance generally is not a matter only for the quote-unquote enlightened few. The broad mass of people can have opinions. You can correct them if they're wrong. And I know sometimes some people want to play engineer and they're not engineer, or play doctor and they're not doctor. But what you have to urge people to do is to, first of all, get facts, get information, and base your opinion on a matrix of facts and sound reasoning, and bring to bear judgment, wisdom and judgment. I encourage that. You know, I said that in a democracy, the broad electorate, whom Stephen would frong at, they have a right to make mistakes, you know.
Yep.
In a democracy. But of course, they have an obligation and a duty, when they recognize that they have made a mistake, to correct that mistake at the first available time. That's if they recognize that they have made a mistake. Sometimes they might think that they have made a mistake. But you can't just advocate that the only people must comment on things just an enlightened few in a particular subject area. So I think he went overboard. And there's the problem always. Experts versus the people. And you know, a lot of experts get a lot of things wrong. Experts are not gods. They could get it wrong. And ordinary people could have good judgment.
Correct.
I'm sure if the bulk of ordinary people know of Ronald Lewis's qualifications and experience, they would say, yeah. And if you outline what is the job description, they say, yeah, I think she could do that job well. So rather that's even your irritation, you have to be careful you don't go overboard and make certain general propositions in favor of an enlightened few or oligarchic rule. I know he will say that that's not what he's saying, but that is the clear implication of what he's reported as having said. And you have to be careful you don't come over like only the elites can decide things, that ordinary people don't have a say or an opinion. I know I have been subjected, I'm talking like a man who has been subjected to a lot of abuse from internet crazies who are just rabid partisan NDP supporters who want to burn down everything and who have hate in their heart. I don't know that there's a comparable group of people who support the ULP who are like that on social media. That has not been drawn to my attention. I haven't seen it. So, Stephen, contextualize who the internet crazies are. And I hope, for heaven's sake, that those who applied for jobs, or who don't get the jobs, don't have their friends and family going on and trying to pull down somebody who get a job. Otherwise, that crab in the barrel mentality ain't going to serve us well. I hope everybody understands the totality what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
The scope for reasonable and legitimate criticism, and I want that to always be something that we have to bear in mind when we're coming to make commentaries on matters like these. And I know that the permanent secretaries who have just been appointed, acting, and Ronald Lewis, would feel that my comments here today would fortify them that there's reasonableness. But at the same time, they would know that they have to perform and that people are watching. But I come back to the original point. NDP has nothing to talk about achievements. The parade, and so some permanent secretaries are appointed to act. We used to do that and they're announced. I ain't taking a photo up with them. The Public Service Commission do their work. The Constitution would tell everybody that I would have done my work in relation to permanent secretaries. They get on with their jobs.
Correct.
But they're making it appear as though, oh, how wonderful we are. We have appointed permanent secretaries acting. But persons who are acting, who they put back to their original positions, they have an explanation to give. They have an explanation to give. And I want to hear if Laura Anthony Brown would have an explanation about those things too. Because we are watching. No. I want to essay into something which is now you'll hear me in a different mood. A different set of circumstances arise now, what I want to talk about. I want to say that the 28 mobilizers and coordinators for the YES program who have been fired, that the government of St. Vincent and the Grenadines has offended Section 13 of the Constitution of St. Vincent and Grenadines, and they have gotten rid of them through political discrimination. You can't discriminate against somebody on political grounds in relation to their job. You can't do that. They haven't. Let me tell you what happened. I want everybody to hear me about this. I met 10 of them. Yesterday they came to Goss to see me. And I've advised what we're going to do. But let me state the facts. You have a YES program. You need people to do mobilizing in relation to them and coordinating work. The NDP administration has replaced these 28 persons. There has been no assessment about their competencies or anything. And I'll come into that. These persons received letters of appointment under the hand of the permanent secretary responsible for the YES program. They have been relieved of their jobs by a letter, They haven't been relieved of their jobs by a letter. In some cases, they get a telephone call. In another case, a word of mouth outside of a telephone call, face to face, with somebody in the administration, in the public administration. I am told that some persons didn't receive any word of mouth, face to face, or even a telephone call. All they know is that they were replaced by somebody else. And in every single case, they have been replaced by persons who are well known in the communities and made themselves well known as supporters of the New Democratic Party. I'm told that only 2 persons, mobilizer or coordinator, for the whole country, which have been kept on. 1 person in Central Kingston and 1 person in East Kingston. And I've been advised, and they can correct me if I'm wrong, Leacock said he wants that person to continue, and Bramble said he wants that person to continue. These are determinations. These are firings. Mass firing in an improper manner. You ain't hearing one thing from the Public Service Union. You ain't hearing one thing from the Christian Council. Well, you go hear from me this morning. You can't fire 28 people like that, and you fire them for political reasons because you suspect that they ain't supporting your party. That is against the Constitution of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So let me deal with 2 bundles of issues first. Normal matters of labor law. Normal matters of rules and regulation relating to persons employed in the government. You're firing somebody, you have to write them a letter. You have to write them a letter saying that we're relieving you of your job. You have to tell them why you're relieving them of their job. And you have to say to them, in this month of April, you are getting your month salary. You know they ain't get the April salary, even though they work part of the month. And you have to get 1 week at least, 1 month, at least, in lieu of notice. Depending on your status and your job. And then, what has been accepted, we have done it all the while. Bling. If you are not pensionable, and this is a decision, these decisions have been made by cabinet for 25 years, that you get 2 weeks pay for each year work, if you're not pensionable, as a compassionate gratuity. Do you know? They table a bill, Leacock table a bill, to what we have been doing in practice, to put it in law. But the first thing to deal with these 28 persons, you ain't give them nothing at all?
They give them the letter tomorrow because he spoke now.
Eh? You hear what I'm telling you? So, they're entitled to the April salary. They're entitled to at least 1 month's salary in lieu of notice. They're entitled to their compassionate gratuity. And they're entitled to any holidays which are owed to them. Payment for the holidays owed to them. Some of them have never taken any holidays, you know. I don't know how that could have happened. The permanent secretaries have been doing that for years, not allowing them to take holidays. Successive permanent secretaries, they have to answer. Eh? And then, Bling, there's the issue of damages for political discrimination under Section 13 of the Constitution. Well, as a principle, you can't approach the Constitutional Court unless you have used up any alternative form of redress which you have. And you have a legal team, and I've spoken to somebody. Well, I spoke to Saboto, who is heading the. Saboto had spoken to them before. I speak to them now. There's a legal group to have the appropriate letters go off. And I'm telling you that if there's going to be a constitutional challenge, I personally would be involved in it as a lawyer. Of course, we have a lot of competent lawyers. But I'm telling you, this thing is so egregious. So I want you to hear me Friday. I want you to hear me Leacock. I want you to hear me. And I say Leacock too because he's the Minister of the Public Service. I want to, the person responsible, the Minister of Youth. Who is the Minister of Youth? That is the gentleman, Cupid? Yeah. I want you to hear me too. These people have to be paid for their April salary. Well, first of all, they have to get a letter terminating them. If you're terminating them, the reason why you're terminating them. You hear what I'm telling you? You have to pay them for the month. You have to pay them at least 1 month in lieu. You have to pay them their somebody worked 23 years, you know.
Ladies on the line.
Some worked 21 years, you know.
22 years with them.
You hear me?
With the government.
I'm talking about this.
Yeah.
And let me tell you this. This has nothing to do with any low-level functionary inside of the ministry. This is a matter which goes to the top. This goes to the cabinet. And the minister, Cupid, has to say to the permanent secretary, you have to do this. He has to talk to the Attorney General. Otherwise, he can't make this mistake. And damages have to go to these people. I know the government don't want to pay damages for political discrimination. This is not a case The Lotto fire woman, one woman, who is known as she's a Labour Party supporter who was in charge of the facility down at Roseau, the sporting facility. Lotto is to pay her. They fire her. And I'm coming back to this 28, you know. I want to make a difference between that one and this 28. This one, down at Roseau, she told me on the phone, I said, did they pay you a month's salary? Yes. Did they pay you a month at least in lieu of in lieu of giving you notice, the month's notice? And did they give you a quote-unquote compassionate gratuity? She said yes. No, the Lotto is still at fault in this important respect. You can't just fire her like that. If she hasn't, and for all of these 28 too, you have to say, we are dissatisfied with you and we are giving you a chance to correct. You give warning letters. You know what I'm coming there, Bling?
Yes.
Otherwise, if you don't give the warning letters, if you just go, if you say that they are just dismissed like that, these persons here, all of them are unlawfully dismissed. And what these people don't realize, the unlawful dismissal, Bling, severance payment is not the only thing which is involved. The Protection of Employment Act says that these persons are to be, that you can apply for these persons to be reinstated. Of course, you may not want them reinstated because all they'll do is set up something to try and find something against you. Now, the Protection of Employment says that the Act doesn't bind the Crown, doesn't bind and the statutory bodies, provided that there are other alternatives. But there's no alternative for these persons who are not pensionable. So the law has to apply to them. The Protection of Employment Act. So what are you doing? At common law, you would have wrongful dismissal, for which there one set of remedies. That is to say, those things I outlined, damages and all the rest of it. If it's unlawful dismissal, there are other kinds of remedies which arise. But fundamentally, for these 28, it will be difficult to say for the one down in Roseau that one was political discrimination. I might feel and satisfy in my mind that it is political discrimination. But when you go on, one is more difficult. But when you get rid of 28, and you get rid of 28 word of mouth, you get rid of them through face-to-face conversation with a mid-level public servant. Bling, is not that mid-level public servant fault, you know? In a court, they would have to say who direct her to tell them to go. Who direct her? The permanent secretary, or the person who is senior, who is in administrative control if there's no permanent secretary at the time when these word of mouth and telephone dismissals were done. And the answer will come, I am 100% sure, Bling, that the instruction came from the Minister or somebody in the political directorate. And that is where you have the political discrimination. The evidence is clear, and a case will be made of these. I know the wheels of justice grind slowly, but it grinds finely. I hope the Attorney General, who I know to be a person in her law practice, a fair individual, and she will tell them you can't do this. I don't think she knows this. I don't think she knows this. So I don't want anybody to go there and say, well, is somebody in some middle-level persons who do this? This is a political decision made by the political directorate of the NDP government to fire 28 persons. These persons were not appointed by a political letter from any politician, you know. They were appointed by, these are non-pensionable posts appointed by the permanent secretary. Bling. If they were the problem they put themselves in, if they were saying, well, you see these positions of mobilizers and coordinators, we're not having those positions anymore, that we are cutting them out. Well, if they did that, Bling, you can't say that they were fired for political reasons, because you will say that a policy decision has been taken to get rid of mobilizers and coordinators. Now that I talk that, they may want to call the people them who replace the mobilizers and coordinators by some other name, you know. But a rose by any other name smells sweet, and a pit toilet by any other name smells stink. Eh? So you have to justify. How can you fire 28 people as mobilizers and in the manner in which you fire them? The crass, cruel, illegal manner in which you fire, unconstitutional manner, because of the political discrimination. And they have replaced them, you know, Bling. They haven't done away with the positions to say that they're reorganizing and do away with those positions. They have replaced them by mobilizers and coordinators. And they have replaced them by persons where evidence could be given from the communities that these persons are well-known supporters of the New Democratic Party. You note the reasonable manner, not just reasonable, the correct manner that I took in relation to the appointments which I referred to earlier this morning concerning acting permanent secretaries and the case of acting permanent secretaries. See if those who were there before acting, why have you not confirmed them or left them acting? No. If there's a political reason for that too, you could have a constitutional case. I want to turn now to sand mining. Bing, I could say more about that, those 28, you know, but I've set the framework. Sand mining down at what is variously called Roseau River, Walilabu River, that area in North Leeward. I want persons to I see some people trying to text me, but I'm not paying attention because I'm or calling. I'm on the program. No. Yesterday evening, I seen a report that there was a meeting, a community meeting in Chateaubelair. Present were the CEO of Bragsa, Ken Bartholomew, the Minister of Infrastructure, who is over Bragsa, Nigel Stevenson, the Minister of Communications and the Minister of Health and the Environment, Daniel Cummins, and the representative for the area and Minister of Tourism, Kishore Shallow. There might have been other officials, but those are the ones which I saw the reports that I've seen. And there was a detailed present report of what Ken Bartholomew, Chief Executive Officer of Bragsa, said. I had said before, and I said last week, that I consider Ken Bartholomew to be a good professional. And remember, I said in this thing, I'm not going to issue any negative comment in relation to Ken in this matter, or the head of the Physical Planning Board, or indeed with the investors in Canawan who buying the sifted material which comes out of the river down in North Leeward. That I'm directing this matter to the minister responsible, Stevenson, to the Prime Minister and the Cabinet. No. Let me talk. First of all, issues relating to transparency and accountability. There was, I am told, one meeting before. It was a poorly advertised meeting, and people were just informed to come and hear about this thing. I understand it wasn't well attended. That's the first meeting. Ken Bartholomew said that in 2025 they did a strategic analysis of areas other than Rabuka where they could mine. And they had identified this particular river as one such place. And I remember the discussion about looking for other places to mine, including that particular river. Other places too. You remember my position from the very first when this has arisen. I say anytime you're having any development taking place, the environment, the physical environment would be disturbed. Anytime any physical development or physical activity, the environment will be disturbed. But there are laws and regulations in place and mechanisms which have to be put in place to ensure the mitigation of any adverse environmental impact. And you have to have activities, you have to have actions for any adverse social impact, not only environmental. Ken Bartholomew said that they went and they made an application to the Physical Planning Board and they got approval in principle. But that approval in principle was subject to certain conditions. Among the conditions was the preparation of an environmental, social, and impact assessment. Other conditions too. They said they got Dr. Murray to do an environmental, social impact assessment. and that they complied with everything requested of the planning authorities, physical planning authorities, and physical planning board gave their approval. Well, that last part was news to me, that physical planning gave approval, because I asked someone to go to physical planning to inquire about this matter. And the persons there at physical planning, responsible persons, told him that there was approval in principle and not an approval yet. So I want them to publish the approval, and I want them to publish the environmental, social, and impact assessment online. And I want a statement from the physical planning board as to the issues, all the competing issues, how they resolved in favor of giving approval. And I want to know the date of the approval. Because the date, did Bragsa start to mine before the date of the approval? You see what I mean, Bling?
Yeah.
You can't get I'm talking about final approval. You know. Approval in principle don't allow you to go and mine, you know. You have to get the final approval. And if they started to mine before the final approval came, that could only have been done at the direction of the minister and or the cabinet. You with me, Bling?
Yep.
Which means that such action would have been improper, save and except if the cabinet took a formal decision to do away with physical planning approval by the board, because that was done in the case of Otley Hall, you know, many years ago by the James Mitchell cabinet. You hear the questions I want to be answered? I'm very glad that Ken Bartholomew provided information, but the information is lacking certain particulars. I don't think you can transpose mining at Rabuka with mining in a live river.
Yep.
Rabuka is a dry river. Eh? There are certain environmental and social impacts in a live river which are different. For instance, people catch chuchi down there. What about river lobster, crayfish, mullet, macaque, and suckstone? Eh? And river grouper. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What about, can you mine in a river? And where you mining? What about where people used to go there and bathe? Eh? What about where people go and do picnic? Because those are activities which persons would have taken place. So if you're mining, a sufficient accommodation has to be made for these things also. Eh? So I would like to see Dr. Morris' environmental, social, and impact assessment. And I would like to see the processes, what the physical planning reveal. Let me just say this. Under the Physical Planning Act, I can write as an interested party to get all this information, Now that they have spoken, I'm calling on the authorities to release that information. And I can write, and they could say they're not releasing the information. Or they could ignore any request to release the information. If that is so, we can go to the court for relevant relief. Either mandatory injunctions, a mandatory injunction, or for writ mandamus, or the relief to get this information. I hope we don't have to go through that process.
Yep.
No, I am not alleging Bling that anything went wrong in the way Ken Bartholomew outlined. What I want is some more information, relevant information. No, Bling. And remember, I want to know whether Braxa started to mine before. Because if Braxa started to mine before they got approvals, want to know who direct them to? Because I know Kemi ain't going to put bulldozer in anything, any river, without he gets either the approval from direction from the minister, the cabinet, or the formal approval from physical planning. So I want to know that. Some other information was provided by Ken Bartholomew, which I'm happy for. And I want to put some details. He said that 110,000 tons of sifted material is being mined for the developers in Canawan. And I happen to know that they want the material for the golf course. $3.8 million EC, for which he said they have already paid down $500,000 in cash and in kind in some equipment which they bought for them. I'm saying what Kem says. As reported. I wasn't there, so I'm judging on the report. If I say anything which is wrong, it's on the basis of the online newspaper reports. Now, that is $34.54 per ton for the 110,000 tons. Now I want to find out whether this number is comparable, and Ken Bartholomew would have to provide this. Or if he doesn't want to provide it, you can send it to the minister to provide it, or he can get the approval of the minister to send me the information, because he wouldn't want to communicate with me as leader of the opposition in a matter which is now a public controversy. And I mean, he can do it, but I understand how things run. So I'm giving options. I know that at Raboka, Bling, sifted material at Raboka is $46 EC per cubic yard. I want everybody to be there with me with pen and paper. Or when you go over back this, have your pen and paper. Now they sell the Raboka material per cubic yard, $46 for sifted sand, sifted material, sifted Raboka material. The unsifted material, which you just go and buy, is $15 per cubic yard. So the sifted material, you pay $31 more for it than the unsifted material. That $31 would involve the process of sifting it, bling, all the costs involved there, and naturally, whatever profit you put on that. So I expect the mining up there, where it's $31 more for sifted material than unsifted material at Raboka. I need to know from Bragsa whether the $31 per cubic yard, which you pay more for sifted material than unsifted material, whether that would be approximately the same cost down at the river down in North Leeward, which they're mining currently. I suspect, Bling, that is more expensive to mine down there because the overheads are higher for all kind of reasons. Transportation for the workers is more further. You got more people from Raboka go down there. Bling, the up at Raboka, you can use different workers to do different things down there. It's only for that particular purpose. So Raboka, you have a whole operation down there. You have to do this specifically. So I expect the overhead cost down there would be more. Yep. So I want to find out if it is significantly more, because remember this, the developers are paying $3.8 million for 110,000 tons. Remember that. They're buying it down, they buy the ton, but up there at Raboka, they sell it by the cubic yard. And I will come to that shortly. How many tons of material equal a cubic yard? They pay $46 per cubic yard. Now, you could, to convert cubic yards, that is to say the volume, the space the thing occupy, to tons, and tons is weight. Bling. When you buy by cubic yards, you do the at Raboka, how you calculate the cubic yard? Or anywhere at all, how you calculate the cubic yard? You multiply the length by the width and the depth. In feet to get cubic feet. All right? The length, the width, the depth, or the height in cubic feet. Then you divide by 27. Why you divide by 27? Remember this, multiply the length, the width, and the depth in feet to get cubic feet. Then you divide by 27. Why you divide by 27? Is because 1 cubic yard equals 27 cubic feet. And how you arrive at that? 3 feet 1 yard, so you multiply 3 feet by 3 feet by 3 feet. That's how you get the 27. All right? So I'm telling you how you get the cubic yard. Yep. But remember at Raboka, you're selling by the cubic yard. $46 a cubic yard for sifted Raboka. Unsifted Raboka material is $15, which means to sift it, it costs $31 more. Is it the same down there, or is it more? I expect it would cost more. Okay, Bling? No. How? I don't think they have a scale down there to measure it in tons. So they will have to say they'll have to. I don't know if they. Even if they go, even they do it by they don't have a scale along there, Bling. So that I suspect that when they put the boat, when they load the boat, when they load the barge, they will do the same. They would measure the cubic yards. They will do the length, the width, the depth to get the cubic feet, then divide by 27 to see how much cubic yard space, because they don't have a scale down there. I asked whether they have a scale. They don't have a scale. They don't have a scale at Arabica. They don't have a scale down there. So they will have to then, if they're selling by the ton, say how much cubic yard in tonnage. What is the equivalence in tonnage? The problem is this, Bling, is that because cubic yards is volume, space occupied, and tons is weight, you need to know the density of the material in order to know how much a cubic yard equivalent in tonnage. And it can have a wide range. So I expect that it would be like 1 cubic yard of sifted material would range somewhere between I suspect 1.3, 1.4 to 1.6 tons. So even if you say, a number in that kind of range, it appears on the face of it that on the face of it, it looks as though the price might be not out of sync with the charging at Raboka. When I did the calculations now, but I don't know how much they put, assuming the density to be the same, the density of the material at Raboka, the sifted material, and the density of the sifted material down there to be roughly the same. And if you have a large quantity, you'll give the people a discount. But I want to know, I'll go through this to say what I want to know, how the measurement goes to how they arrive at the 3.8. Is it comparable to the Raboka material? Are you giving them a deal? You're shortchanging Bragsa? Or is a reasonable price? As I say, on the assumptions which I make about the density being more or less the same, and knowing the price at Raboka, and giving some leeway for discount for the large quantities, 110 tons, I don't think you may be able to say that the price is unreasonable. But I need to know from them about the actual conversion down there from the cubic yards to the tonnage, because they're selling it a ton. I was taking you through it, Bling, to show how you can try and do it yourself,
Yeah.
Eh? But I need, you notice in all of these things, Now, if you're getting $3.8 million, what you doing for the community out of that money? Ebling? Are you people who normally fish there, who normally use the thing? What are you doing? What facilities are you putting in place? Eh? Or you just go, just use a community resource because you have the power to use it, and leave people in the area less well off in terms of social amenities. You notice my assessment of this thing again, Bling. I'm probing, I'm asking very serious questions where there are gaps. But I'm also not saying that they're giving away the material. Because based on my calculations, the number which they're getting may not be unreasonable. But I want confirmation as to how they arrive at the tonnage, given the fact that they don't have a scale down there. What are they? How they come to the what measurement they use now to get the tonnage, and how much they estimate. What is the rule of thumb they're using, given the density of the material, for me to make the comparison between the tons and the cubic yards which they sell at Raboka. You understand the point I'm making? So there are still questions to answer.
Yep.
And of course the community need to benefit. And all the transparency issues are there. Obviously, the developers would feel that they could get it there cheaper than they could get it from Guyana because the transportation costs and so forth. But at the same time, Braggs has to look as though, well, have a resource, we can use it. But if you use it, how are you? It's not like at Raboka. This is a live river.
Yep.
And there are certain things which need to be done. And things which needed to be done prior have not been done to help to take care of the community needs in this respect, in these respects. So the debate continues. I appreciate the information that Kem put out, Kem Bartholomew. I appreciate the information so that I can provide a reasonable commentary, but to show where gaps are, which I need more information still. And I want to know on the transparency, governance, accountability issues. I ain't just taking, given the nature of this, I'm not just taking word of mouth. Put up the approvals, what date they were given, what processes you followed. I'm talking about physical planning, and put the environmental, social, and impact assessment report online. And then the issue remains as to what are we doing for the community facilities associated with the river. Is you doing it at the lower end? What about at a higher end? Are you making a road so that people could go higher and bathe? Ebling? Or they can fish? Or you want to take the whole river at the whole length? How far up you going? Eh? Or how far down, as the case may be. But very much so how far up. So all these are questions still. I don't know if some of these questions were raised at the consultation last night, but last night was not a consultation of the physical planning board, you know. Last night was a consultation where the politicians for the NDP were trying to do some damage control. And of course, I appreciate Kem's professional statements, though I would insist that mining in a live river is a different thing than mining at Raboka.
True.
And I want some further information so that I can come to the people and say the price which is charged is okay. But there's some gaps which I have. On the face of it, it doesn't look, the prices charged do not look unreasonable from the calculations that I have done upon advice of engineers and others. And by the way, you can go online in a bling and see all this stuff about cubic yards to tons and how you do this and how you do that, how you calculate this, how you calculate that. But you have to get the base data. Like for instance, $46 per cubic yard up at Raboka. The question is this though. Would you charge, when you charge people $46 at Raboka?
Some people on the live saying, could you repeat the amount and money is paid?
Is subsidized. The cubic yard is subsidized up there. I don't expect us to subsidize rich people in Canawan. You see where I'm coming from? Bling, you see where I'm coming from? I don't expect you to subsidize rich people in Canawan. That's why I ask the questions which I ask. On the face of it, if you do it comparable with Raboka, the number may not be out of sync. But then, you want to give the same subsidy to the people down there, the rich people there, who want to do it for the golf course, or you want to get some extra money. And then what is happening to that money in relation to facilities to help people down in North Leeward, in respect of matters which they were accustomed to use in the river. And we'll see the work that Dr. Murray did. All that has to be made public. Let's have everything come out. Notice, Bling, I'm not saying that you mustn't mine in the river, Eh? But I'm talking issues of transparency and accountability, good governance issues, just like we followed them when we were dealing with Renault, Just like we followed them when we mine elsewhere, And all right. So the persons want, well, I would only repeat about Raboka. Per cubic yard of sifted material is $46. Unsifted is $15, which means per cubic yard. But remember what Kemba telling me from Bragsa says. He hasn't sold in cubic yards. He's selling 110,000 tons of sifted material at 3.8 million. Notice not just material, sifted material at 3.8 million EC. Now, to see whether there are comparables between Raboka and there, you have to convert the cubic yard into tons. And I want to find out, since they don't got no scale down there, how they measure the approximation, whether it's 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, 1.5 tons per cubic yard. You with me? Or whatever number. But, and let people understand that to convert cubic yards, which deal with volume, that is the space occupied, to tons, which is weight, you need to know the density of the material. And in making the comparison with Raboka, I assume the Raboka material, I assume similar density of Raboka material with the material down there. You see where I'm coming from, Bling?
Yep.
And that because the volume to weight varies greatly depending upon the density of the material. But the generally speaking, when you crush stones, it kind of ranges between 1.2 and 1.6, 1.7. When you crush material and you sift them like how you sift them, 1.2 to 1.6, 1.8 tons per cubic yard. That is a broad number, I'm told, which you get. Sand, just plain sand, is just like 1.35 to 1.6 tons per cubic yard. So you have to do the conversion. Huh? But Kemba told me they'd have to tell us whether they, even after they give a discount for the volume which they're selling, whether or not they're giving them a subsidy, like our Bragsa gives a subsidy to local construction. Are we going to give the subsidy which we give to local construction up at Rabuka to people to build a golf course? Eh? There's a political decision made, not just not a Bragsa decision. So they have to answer that too. So questions need to be answered. Governance, transparency, accountability issues, which and then value issues, cost, and then what that money is being used for. Anything is being put aside for the people there in relation to the river? And could people use the river at different places, different points? All those, that kind of thing we need to come out with. You notice how I'm addressing this thing rationally? I'm not saying we mustn't mind, Eh? But we have to answer all these questions which I'm raising. Now, I want to revert again. Among the complaints that I'm getting from commuters, taxi men, minibus operators, ordinary people with their vehicles, is wickedness to increase the price of diesel and gas at one fell swoop by $3.70. Completely wicked. And that was done because the government was too tardy in addressing this question. And they have done something which is bringing too much hardship immediately onto people. And the minibus men and the taxis, they need a special subsidy. And given the rising cost of living, the government has to address the issues which I raised last week. The salary increases for the public servants. Minimum wages to increase. The nurses to get back their $500 tax-free supplemental income. We have to subsidize flour and rice, two staples. Some of the things which we have done will benefit only the merchants and the supermarket owners. That is to say, the question of giving the relief on the custom service charge and giving the relief on the freight as the basis. For the calculation of the duties and the VAT. No. Because when Friday says that the task force would oversee that to make sure that there's no gouging, Talking foolishness. Total foolishness, because there's no legislative mechanism to see that the ordinary consumer gets the benefit. Nonsense, total nonsense. And I call around the region, I tell people that Friday increase the price one time by $3.70 EC per gallon. And they ask me if Vincent's not rioting. I said, not yet. Not yet. It's wicked.
Yes.
And people are paying for the tardiness for them dealing with the matter. This thing should have been gradual, and more moderate in its increase, and you have to figure out how much subsidy you're going to give overall. They're doing it off the seat of the trousers. They took over 10 weeks to act. And then when they act, they brought down the hammer. They have a drizzle, you know. They don't have a shower rain. They have a hurricane force activity. 370. A minibus man filling up daily, doing his regular thing, is between $75 and $120 a day extra. If you even put it average at $100 a day extra, that's $2,400 a month. That's wickedness. How can they survive? And they will ask reasonably for increase in the fare. And then who going to have to pay that? The ordinary commuter. So Friday I had to go back to the drawing board with this thing. I can't believe that he followed the advice of people like Edmund Jackson and the other people inside of the Ministry of Finance. I can't believe that at all, because I know these guys. I know how they function, the professional way they function. Friday is insufficiently curious. He's uncurious, incurious. He's slow off the mark. I told people this. Lazy in dealing with urgent problems. I said that before. Uncreative, non-creative. He has in his mind austerity, fiscal austerity. He said this was going to be a transition, but it's a transition to a dead end.
So true.
And it is, because a transition to a dead end, it is retrogressive. That's why I call his program, which he's implementing and which he will formalize with the IMF, a fiscal austerity retrogressive transition program, an FART program. That's what it is about. This thing is wicked. And all that I've heard from him and his principal economic advisor, their speeches recently before at a forum here, a forum with some UN people, the regional director and so on, coordinator of the UN in the Eastern Caribbean. A lot of wrong information, pure distortion, and they give wrong data about the extent of unemployment and poverty as we left it. They give wrong information as to how the debt is composed, and they want to frighten people. They are making a decision of choice, not necessity. Of choice, not necessity. And they are not doing anything to grow the economy. I'll show you something, how they're desperate to see if they can have something about growth in the economy. They have a thing called, I see the headline, announcement in relation to $45 million investment in sandals at Bucament. You mean a re-announcement? Because when Sandals did the 302, first of all, they wanted to do 100. Then they said they go to 302. Then when they nearing completion, they say when they complete the 302 for the 300 million US dollars, 302 keys, they say that they're going to do 22 signature villas. They call them Rondoval villas. And then when they finish those, they're going to do 20 hillside sky suites. They already started the villas and laying the preparation for the suites. So that's not an announcement. That's a re-announcement. Eh? This is the thing they're doing. They want to package something. I'm talking about Friday them. This is what we had agreed upon, the same concessions for Sandals. Bookament. It's the same concessions and everything for these 22 Rondoval villas and for the 20 new hillside sky suites. They were talking about $30-something million. Now, prices going up and so on, so this is 45 million. It should have been 30-something million, it's now 45 million. That's not new, because when Sandals people came, they said currently underway. They were underway before NDP came to office. They were underway before NDP came to office. I spoke about it, Camilo spoke about it. Everybody in Carlos spoke about it. Adam Stewart, head of Sandals, spoke about it. So don't throw smoking people live Friday and the rest of you talking about an announcement. You mean a re-announcement? You're traversing ground which we already trod upon.
Yes.
And saying you treading on it for the first time. The workers are walking down there for several months. They're supposed to finish this thing. These things November this year. The 22 villas. They should have finished them earlier. But the government, when they campaign, they bad talk Sandals so much. And beaches, the agreement which is signed, they have their lackeys outside, people who want to eat a food, running their own talk. People who want to make money off a CBI, selling passport, you know, and wanting for them to settle this and that case with them and give them plenty fees. And they tell people how much they settle for, how much fees they pay. I got a man talking. You want to eat a food? I'm talking about some lawyers. We come in at all those things, you know. We come in at all those things. Because if you settle something, you have to say how much you settle for,
Yes.
and how much you paying the lawyers for the fees.
Sure.
Eh? But all this is hush-hush. All this is hush-hush. Nobody know. All you know, you got some man making errors 134 times over about what we sell the land for. Wrong, and he apologizing, you know. And move on like nothing happened. Eh? People like that who have credibility. And so they have this ecosystem of propagandists. And part of that is to dress up what they do it. And they're doing nothing to dress it up as nice. A lot of vacuous, empty talk. Not happening on the ground, and the people know that. And in the process, they want badmouth Ralph. You badmouth Ralph when you're in government, you badmouth Ralph now when you're talking in opposition. They want to squeeze this radio station out of existence, you know. And those who want to charge staff for this or that know what I'm talking about, you know. And those who they running away and tell them to advertise on Star. I know what they're doing, you know. But time longer than rope. Time longer than twine. No. The Sandals people came down. Adam Stewart didn't come, but senior people came and said they want to start beaches in 2028. Beaches should have been finishing at the end of 2027 into the first half of 2028. If ULP was in government. All know so. We in government, you would have 700-800 workers walking down there, doing preparatory work. Now they're putting you down to the back of the queue. They're going to start in 2028. Leacock bad mouth them. Bramble bad mouth them. Friday remain silent. They have people from the state, from part of the state-owned media, like Luke Boy, who happy now that they give him Annersville to have this, whatever they fed them have. Open sesame. They give him a job as a chairman and see their kind of consolation prize. Listen, I go expose all of them, you know. Huh? Hot FM is now Cold FM. Part of the state media. If Friday say jump, Luke and Too Cool say how high? How high, Master Friday? Huh? Oh, now and again they go do a little bit of criticism on the fringes. Don't let that fool you. Don't let that fool you. And the pressure which people are facing. People like Luke Boy and some of the propagandists of the NDP in their ecosystem outside of their formal apparatus, their formal party apparatus or formal government apparatus. They are to be held responsible too for the pressure that people in St. Vincent and Grenadines facing. And they tell a whole heap of lie. I see Friday talking about in very general and vague and vacuous terms. And some of his advisors and other supporters. Oh, we need climate finance, we need the restructuring of the global system. Well, there are details, you know, with these things which have been presented, which CARICOM has approved of already. Bridgetown Initiative 3.0. With specific proposals. What is your view on those specific proposals? Let me tell some of them. One, a major one, for more money to be put to IDA, which is International Development Association, that wing of the World Bank. That you have to put far more money there, and you can't reform it in a manner, readjust in a manner where you pit the vulnerable, like St. Vincent and the Grenadines, against the poor, like, say, Burkina Faso or Bangladesh or Southern Sudan. Because remember, to fight that issue, I wrote over 600 letters on 3 occasions to heads of government and heads of state and to other global officials fighting this issue, put them at bay, because they wanted to make it more difficult for those of us who are vulnerable, reduce the extent of the years which we get loans at, and reduce and to increase the interest. When we get money from Ida now, like for climate-related things, it's 0.75% for 45 years. Good money. I want to get more money like that. That's why I was fighting, so we need more money. That's part of the Bridgestone initiative. So you have to be very specific, you know. I'm telling them what you have to be specific about. And join me in talking about these things, not just vague, Friday, not your usual vacuous, empty talk. And your advisors who are in the realm of theory, get down and let we do some serious work. And we can work together on things like these. Because these things don't know any internal politics shouldn't be mattering with this. Because we are one with this with the nation. When I was fighting World Bank, you know what they said? We will see who will win. World Bank or World Boss. And they were cheering for World Bank. Without realizing what they were cheering for. Just cheering to see if they can influence ignorant people. That's why I say, I am afraid intelligence, is ignorance and stupidity. I'm afraid, And when I say that, they say, some of them see him ignorant and stupid. One say, well, Ralph must be afraid himself. Anybody goes think Ralph ignorant and stupid? Eh? When you're abusing people who have given their life to something, but you have a right to talk. But talk sensible now. Don't waste people time. Don't waste people time. Well, one of the things that vex with me is I don't bother upon them, I don't bother upon them. I'm my back broad. True. And I'm an ancient warrior. I'm an ancient warrior, and I use modern tools. And my brain functioning well. As anybody here, any discourse. I prepare to come on this radio program every time I come in. You notice I have my notes. Yes. I prepare myself. I do my work so that I have an obligation to talk sense to people. Even sometimes when I talk, some people say, man, listen, man, you shouldn't give them a chance with that. I said, look, this is my country. Yeah. People will be able to say, Ralph is opposing where he has to oppose. He proposed where he has to propose. He exposed where he had to expose. And we will depose the NDP constitutionally sooner rather than later in elections, which is the way you do it. It will come. It will happen. And many things are there still to come. I just pray Almighty God to continue to give me and my close comrades health and strength. But one thing for sure, none of them could frighten me with nothing. None of them. None of them. So, I deal with IDA, International Development Association wing of the World Bank. One proposal in Bridgestone 3.0. Mia Motley put it out. I discussed this thing in detail with Mia Motley. All the iterations from Bridgestone, the initial Bridgestone initiative to 2.0 to 3.0. I went to France with her at a conference. I tell her I don't want to talk, I just want to listen. You know what I mean? So I could give her my impressions as to what people are saying and give the leaders in the Caribbean the benefit of my own reflections and study on this thing and my judgment. That's one. A pillar of 3.0 is, because if you're restructuring, you can't just say restructuring. Everybody can tell you, oh, we want to restructure too. Restructuring is like Madongo in North Windward. Or like Dukuna in Accra St. Vincent. Or like Plum Rose. Everybody like it. Everybody like them. So everybody will say, yes, I for that. But what about the specifics? What about the specifics? I'll give you a specific there now with Ida. Other one. A centerpiece of Bridgestone Initiative 3.0, the third iteration, is for the developed countries and maybe some emerging economies to put into a resilient trust fund the unused portions of their special drawing rights, their SDRs, which are denominated in US dollars. One SDR equal $1. At the IMF, every country, every member has a certain number of SDRs. And you don't draw down on a lot of countries don't draw down on their SDRs, the special drawing rights. You'll draw down in special circumstances, but America, Britain, France, Germany have a lot of unspent SDRs. So the idea is to use a portion of those special for developed countries, put that in a resilient fund to make available on very concessionary terms over a long period of time of low interest rates to developing countries. That is, and if you could attract that kind of money, significant monies, and that would help with climate change issues too, you can also then draw significant amount of private capital alongside. Then another area of Bridgestone 3.0, I'm summarizing, is for when you have any loans from international, regional or international development institutions, that you must have when there's a disaster, you must have a suspension clause for the payments on the loans. Well, that has started to happen. That's one that was evolving before Bridgestone initiative, but it has gathered a pace since then. That's one aspect in which progress is being made. Also, that money is to be made available, climate-related monies, to regional finance institutions, like, for instance, the Caribbean Development Bank, which is a very important financial institution for us, for more monies to be there, which we can mobilize. And then 3.0, Mia was suggesting that you set up a particular green bank for the region and fund it in a particular way. Well, you have to get particular monies for that. And then the official development assistance monies must be made where it is very discretionary. We have to make sure that the developed countries, where they say they're going to spend 0.7% of their gross national income on official development assistance, they must actually do so. But very few of them did do that. I made that analysis a few weeks ago. I talk about all these things. If you listen to me, I came with all the data. These are, I see Friday and is general economic theorists talk about debt swap. As I explained more than one time, our external debt, which we owe principally to CDB, World Bank, and we owe a small sum to the IMF, not because we are an IMF program, but because under the rapid credit facility, and money is like from Venezuela and from Taiwan, which are very concessionary monies. So you ain't going to do no debt swap for that. The debt swap which you have is if you have external monies at commercial rates, The only money is we have at commercial rates, or close to commercial rates, are the bonds which we sell for local loans. And this government was making the financing situation, the fiscal situation worse by putting on ice a number of projects which we already had concessionary monies for. Put them aside for political reasons and put that they're going to borrow $200 million in local loans. And I told them they couldn't raise that money, and I gave the reasons why. So a lot of things which they talk about, some new things, can't take place. That is why you see all what they're doing is continuing things which we do, and where we leave money for, which is in the development account, at the treasury, at the consolidated fund. Monies which we have there. Money is contracted already, and monies which haven't arrived yet. But will arrive. For instance, money is from Arnesville, Acute Care Hospital, other projects too. I give that because that's a big one. Monies that we left there, all the contracts to draw down the monies from the lending institutions at the appropriate time to place into the development account, earmarked specially, ring fence for the purpose. You can't spend them on other things. That's how the accounts are in the development account, the capital account, capital expenditure account. All you got to do is know what's happening, you know. But the fellas are moving so foolish with so many things that the place is at a standstill because they want to impose fiscal austerity, retrogressive transition program and FART program. And you're seeing that nothing happening. Unemployment is increasing. Hardship. Look, I had to give people a chance to talk, to call. There's no job creation, price increasing, the social safety net falling apart, the housing, things rough. Nothing happened with housing. People's faces are strained and anxious. There's some real immediate pressures. People can't pay their rent, the cost of living, the food. I go to the supermarket twice a week, and people bawling. The gas and diesel prices. Now we have graduation time. Some people trying to take off the pressure and say they're going to spend a lot of money for carnival. They find it difficult. Young persons, tertiary education, people are frightened about it. And for the college. And school year is coming up. People, the appointments to the hierarchy of the police force is like Akanongs. It's only one post where you have the public service, the Police Service Commission Act, you know, is to put Officer Bailey as acting. I'm talking about Buju as acting deputy commissioner. Because Frankie Joseph gone on holidays, pre-retirement. Well, I don't know if it's holidays or pre-retirement, but. No salary increases. I hear the fella, the theoretical advisor, saying that they want to have the wage bill is too much. You know what I mean? Cut it. And then you get slogans coming from the government. They went on a tour, several places, take a whole set of people. What they must do? Remittances must be turn remittances into investments. I explain here, remittances are about consumption. People sending money, $200 US, for the auntie, the uncle, the mother, the father, the grandfather. And send something at Christmas and and their birthday or their wedding anniversary, $3,000 US a year. Even though you save that up for 10 years, that's $30,000, 80,000 EC. Tell me about the investment. What are going to do? Investment. And meanwhile, for the 10 years, what's going to happen? So they look at a number, so much millions of dollars in remittances. Suppose we can put those in investments. So, unrelated to reality, turn remittances into investment. Listen, remittances is about people, helping people consume and keep life and living together day to day. What are you going to do? Save up that and let them starve and dead? You know, they have these slogans and they repeat them. And what is amazing, I often wait a week or two before I say anything. And then I don't see anybody writing, nobody talking about these things, inform people. I say some people gonna brain dead. Man just with a lot of empty statements and getting away with them. Pure foolishness, a lot of irrelevancies. Yes. Another one now. Doing more with less. Well, everybody would like to do more with less. But you want people to continue to work and don't pay them. That's doing more with less. Yeah. Or firing 28 people and don't pay them the money. That's doing more with less. Yeah. There's a lot of rubbish, which has been a lot of empty slogans and vacuous talking being advanced for serious policy. Want to use to lick up police in schools. The matters which were put in place to help to control trafficking in arms and ammunition and crime. We want to hear what is taking place with those. Before I leave, before I stop talk today, because I have a meeting with Kisal and Carlos at 1 o'clock to talk about some things. See this book by Henry G. The Decline and Fall of the Human Empire, Why Our Species on the Edge of Extinction. Henry G. Published, I should have bring it a couple of weeks ago. Published in 2025, published last year. And this man is writing about the problems of humanity right now on a large level. And the extinction which the human species is facing. And he ain't talking about extinction from nuclear weapons or an asteroid hitting. Like how the asteroid hit and many millennia ago and kill out the dinosaurs. I'm not talking about those things. We're talking about in the way in which humanity is going. And different people predicting that. Some people say within, the scientists, some say within 10,000 years, the species will be no more. Some say within 5,000. Of course, the Christians say the time is coming nigh. Second coming, the end times. Different sorts. Well, this is not about the end times prediction in relation to Christian doctrine. This is in terms of scientists talking and writing about the dangers which are facing humanity and if we don't do certain things. Because a lot of species, human beings, because of our ingenuity, we have been able to save ourselves from time to time. Will we be able to save ourselves as the years roll by if we continue to behave in some of the ways we're behaving and in some of the things we are doing or not doing? So I want to ask persons to read this. Very interesting book. I've come from time to time and I can't stop reading, you know. Every single day I read. I want to thank everybody who send me messages. I don't know. I see something is put up on my Facebook page with my granddaughter, myself. And I had a bag of plum rose. She loved plum rose. I want to thank people who know how she loved plum rose and put aside plum rose and send for me. Now, the season for plum rose this year is a longer season than last year or the year before. There's something with the weather. Something happened. I asked some people what. They tell me some residue from soufre. They tell me is the drier period. They give me all because I observed that the mango season has lasted a little long over the last couple of years too, and so to the Beckwith plum season. There's some different varieties of plum rose too, I notice, but the plum rose is such a beautiful fruit, and my granddaughter loves them, and I'm very glad that the season has been extended. And she knows the difference between good quality plum rose and plum rose which ain't good quality, you know. She knows the difference. And she indicates to me the difference. I want to invite some calls. I talked too much today, and tomorrow I have to go away to Barbados for something which I have to do. I have to do on Friday morning in Barbados, and then I have to go to England, and then I have to go to Ghana. But arrangements for those times when I'm out on my Monday and Wednesday program would be done. The difficulty, as I explained on Monday, is that we have Parliament on the 18th. My questions are in, and the questions will be asked in any case, those for oral answers. But one of the problems, and I'm hoping that the government changes its approach to this. They've been adjourning Parliament sine die without a date being set. If you remember Parliament and you don't have a date being set, that means you can't control your work, professional and political and academic work. Professional meaning lawyering or consulting or giving lectures or going to conferences or whatever. If I know a specific date that Parliament is meeting, even if it might have to shift a week or so, you know the general ballpark, so you know where you can make commitments for. But if you don't know, and you're just given 10, 12 days notice before the date, it's a problem. You're already locked in with certain commitments, regionally and internationally. I have some commitments in London, professional and political. I have some important ones, and I have in Ghana. And in relation to my commitment in Ghana, it comes smack into when the Parliament is on the 18th. So I contacted the Speaker about seeking to see if Parliament can be put forward for at least a week, ideally to the 29th this month. You wouldn't lose. I don't think the government would lose with any item of the agenda. I don't know anything which is so urgent that they need to pass. which can be delayed a week or 10 days. So I've written for that to see whether that would be accommodated. I don't know what are the items on the order paper. Today is the 10th. Parliament is the 18th. One of the things I want to talk to Kisal and Carlos about today is that on the 15th there's a select committee on 2 bills in which Carlos and Kisal are on. They're not all shaking bills, but there are some things I want to talk to them about, which I study them and give them my own impressions. They're on the select committee, not me. I had them named. I don't know those bills. I don't even know if they would be ready in time for the 18th, because the select on the 21st of April they had been put to select committee, and the first meeting which is being called for them to be for the select committee to meet is the 15th of June. That's almost 2 months after. And that's just before the 18th. I don't know if the work is going to be completed on those 2 bills. But as I say, those bills are not all shaken. And I don't know what else is on the other paper. So I hope I can get to find out today before I leave tomorrow for Barbados. But my questions are in. And the speaker will no doubt consult with the Prime Minister as required under the rules, and we'll see what happens with that. So I am hopeful that they put it off until for a week or so hence now. 29th, Monday 29th would be ideal. But we'll see what transpires, and then I will make my determination and give them all the factors as to whether I proceed with some commitments I have, how many I can do overseas, how many I can't do, and I am. But all the commitments I have overseas are very urgent, important ones. Okay, let's take some questions.
Okay, for 517-827, 534-7827, numbers to call to get you on. Let's get interactive.
I understand the 534-7827. That's the WhatsApp number.
Yes.
And the other one is sometimes some crazies call it and tie it up.
Yes.
So it's easier to get you on the WhatsApp. That, at least that's what Bling says. I don't know if Bling is right about that. Or
keep up with it all the time.
It's correct. All right. And I don't know, there are also questions which come in.
Yes.
Which I can answer. So, Augustine, are you listening to me? Anybody comes by, tell them I have to see. There were a couple of appointments with persons, but I also had to reach out back to the country. I have a 3 o'clock meeting today at GAS. It's a busy day.
Very busy day.
Yeah.
Busy one today.
Okay, so the number to call is 451-7827 or 534-7827. So let's take our first caller.
Hello.
Let's make sure we get this correct. Right ahead.
Hello, yes, good day.
Okay, I know I'm getting old and forgetful, but I really want to be reminded about something. Is it normal for an acting Prime Minister to be called Deputy Prime Minister when he is into the appointment?
Yes, he's formally appointed, in addition to Minister of National Security, Deputy Prime Minister. So he can be referred to as Minister of National Security and Deputy Prime Minister, because that's in his formal instrument issued by the Governor General. But if when the Prime Minister is away and he is appointed to act as Prime Minister, in the absence of the Prime Minister, he's then acting Prime Minister.
I see. Thank you.
Thanks.
Just one other quick question. Who do we call if we wish to make a donation to Star Radio?
Who do we want to make a donation?
Who do you call if you wish to make? Every now and then you hear this thing about and Star Radio sometimes is just cut off, just like that when you're listening to it. Who do you call when you wish to make a donation?
Ferdinand. Augustine Ferdinand
Thank you very much.
Do you want Ferdinand's number?
I will get it. I will get it from the station.
Okay then. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, I'm very happy to hear, Bling, that persons are interested in doing in making contributions.
Stick one.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hello, yes, good day.
Hello, PM. You do this voice bad. PM.
Yes,
Hello, this is Uncle Sam.
yes,
Uncle Sam.
yes, Uncle Sam.
Yes. And I just can't get to call you because, I can't see it, But when I get but now I get a little chance now. But I want to speak to you over certain things, but not, I want to ask you, please, when the program finishes, call me now.
All right then, we go talk. Okay.
Yeah, but I hear you talking some things and everything you talk. When I hear them guys say, but nothing, 25 years, nothing to do. Well, I say, Irabuka Bridge, no nothing.
Yes.
When you win election, you do road from Fancy to Kingston. You call from Northwood to North Leeward. All those people who didn't get stuff, who work on the estate and they didn't get stuff on the street, every one of them get stuff on the street.
Absolutely.
The people get it.
Absolutely.
This Rabuka Bridge, that nothing. People used to get dead there. People used to wash ready when time up. Remember, James Richard said no build no bridge, build a tunnel.
Uncle Sam, one day I might have to get you to come in and sit down and talk about many of these things.
We got to, you got in, you build that international airport. You have to break down so much mountain, fill so much valleys.
And the education revolution and the clinics and the hospital and the city fences and the houses and the stadium at St. Vincent Beach, the facilities at Arnesville, the sport facilities, all the roads and bridges.
All that stadium built down there when you was getting late for the, what the NDP say. The money you spending on that.
The dance can't pay for the lights.
That will give poor people.
Yeah.
They want Boston, they want claim it.
Yeah. That's how they are. But people know they're dishonesty,
When you was doing the airport, Daniel Cummings who once, he said no plane, no can land, the only big flights we can land. You have to put
Yeah. Same thing they say about Modern Medical and Diagnostic Center when I'm building it. That's so go blow it away. And so on and so forth.
Remember, the medical center for just up there, they say that no needed up there, that they do need to suffer.
That's the point. That's the
Oh
point.
my God, happen.
Uncle Sam.
Now you build that modern port. Then they'll come back and say that couldn't build it because that's a his constituency and if he's not trying to do that, nothing can do that.
Yes.
All them things.
Well, I'm glad. I'm glad.
And a lot of things that means some old boat shack used to their tongue. You see them again now. You move them people and carry them out. We have this put out a such a nice place there for people. Man, anyhow.
Thank you, Uncle Sam. I go talk to you.
But here now, please.
I'll talk to you
after the program now.
All right, Uncle Sam.
Because I really have something important.
All right, Uncle Sam. All right.
Okay, all right. God bless.
Bling. I got a text here from somebody who said, you mean you do not know any of the other 53 candidates? That's at the NIS. You know the NDP and their supporters. When some of the other candidates are revealed, of course, you will know some of them. The NDP will twist your words to say you know, you deny knowing them. Remember how E.G. Lynch twisted wash your foot and come? And dribs and drabs? Well, anybody can try and twist my words whatever they want. I do not know anybody who applied. Nobody told me who applied, of all any of the 54 persons who applied for the job as director of the NIS. Nobody. All I know is what was announced, that Ronette Lewis was selected. And I gave my views there just now. I'm not going to say that she's a person who is undeserving. If for me to say that would be wrong. I'm not saying that any of the other 53 are not also deserving. But I listened to I read what reported that Chairman Joachim said about the process which went through and how this person was selected. So I'm very clear about all the issues there. So I just want to make that point. I am not going to be found demeaning people just willy-nilly. I wouldn't do that. And I'm not also demeaning anybody who did not get the job. I'm not doing that either, because I don't know who they are. And as I said, I don't know if anybody who didn't get it is a person who may be considered to somebody who was quite good for the job. And there was a process, and there was a consultant involved, and there were I know that processes can be manipulated and so on and so forth. But I'm taking everything which is there as being done in the proper manner as revealed. So you're not going to have me bad talking somebody. I ain't carrying water for anybody in any unknowing way, and nobody is giving me basket to carry water. I want to make reference to something else. A lady, I don't know if it's a man or a woman, text me and said that there's a problem. Say, pleasant morning, that's this morning. There's a matter I'd like you to look into and talk about. There is an adoption committee, and it is not functioning. Talking about the adoption board. It's not functioning. To my understanding, there have not been a meeting for quite a while. And there's so many families who have kids and are waiting for this committee, this board, to approve their adoption. I'm asking you please to try and look into this situation for me. Well, I'm raising it, and I will find out. I hope Louise Mitchell is getting a report as to what I'm saying. Certainly the Minister of Legal Affairs, who is Godwin Friday, that clearly the adoption board must do its work in order for the adoption process to be going through. And a lot of children who deserving of being given the chance to go to an adopted parent. But that in as way is mandated by the law, that we should get that board. It's a very important board. Very important board. And we had amended the law and make things more modern, more rigorous and everything. So please, thanks very much. And I like when people send me stuff like this. The other person who I read things from, I'm grateful for the comment you make. But when I talk many things. People can try and twist my words if they want. I talk in a open and honest manner about how I see the issues, and that's how I have been. People who want to misrepresent me, well, can misrepresent me. Hello, good day, good afternoon.
Hello.
Hello, yes.
Good afternoon, my Prime Minister. How are you doing?
I'm doing okay.
This is Debbie.
Which Debbie?
Maloney.
Oh, hey. How you doing? You gone back?
I'm great. I'm great.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
great. First, I want to comment on the 16-year-old. I know she in a good hands with you and the other lawyer, and then she need praise. Everybody need to get to her and pray for her.
Thanks.
Because she's just 16. And then I want to thank you and your wife to invite me for lunch. You're a wonderful person, and your whole staff at the house.
Thank you very much. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed that lunch very much. And
Me too.
and
Kiss my little girl. For
I
me.
know, Sarai, and you hit it off. Yes.
Okay.
All right, Debbie. Thank you. And give Monica my love.
Okay, I will.
Fine. All the best to the family.
Okay.
Hello.
Brutus.
A question.
Brutus Joseph of Ley was fired from his job. He worked as a watchman for 5 years, and the members of the CTWA, but I believe it's CWSA, is turning him around.
No, CTAW. CTAW, the trade union.
Yes. It's turning him around constantly.
I think you should try and see if you could see Burns. You could see Burns. And I know Randy went to see his mom, or Randy Brewster went to see his mom in New York. But if the brother can get in touch with me, and I will, I'll get in touch with Saboto. I'll get in touch with Augustine. You can. Well, I'm going to need permission from Augustine to call this number online.
Yes. Another question is, I got a very important question came into my phone. I want to tap into my phone and read that
sure.
to you. Yes. Oh, here we go. Do the Comrade thinks that the chairman of an institution like the NIS should be on radio speaking politics when he is addressing supporters from both sides? Also, should he be personally attacking a pensioner? He attacked the Comrade and challenged people to silence the Comrade.
He tell people to silence me? Well, Stephen Joachim don't have that power, influence to get anybody to silence me. I don't know. Well, I'm not going to comment as to whether he actually said so, but I don't know if there's a paraphrase as to what he said. But I know he has attacked me from time to time, and I had to take issue with him. He has to be very careful as chairman of the NIS as to his public statements, because you do not want the chairman of the NIS to be engaged in public controversy, which could collaterally bring the NIS leadership into disrepute. Of course, the new director of the NIS has to be careful that the chairman himself doesn't try to run the NIS from the position of chair, because that is not his role. I know Stephen would say he understands that, but I know he's forceful, and he may seek to impose his will in a manner which may not be always in the best interest of the NIS. He should. I know he'd have a different style than Bowman, Lennox Bowman, who was the chair before him for 20 odd years, and who did an excellent job, and who worked very well with two successive directors of the NIS. So the person who is sent that message to you is raising a valid point. He has to be careful what he says. I just critiqued him as to a view which I think he has gone overboard with. I don't want to go over back that. But I agree with him on the issue that you don't necessarily need an actuary to head the NIS, but the person must have particular qualities relating to the job description.
Yes.
And the nature of the NIS itself.
So let's take a call.
Yes.
Right ahead. Good afternoon.
Hello. Hello.
Hello, good afternoon. Seems like that was...
We lost.
Yes. We are hearing you. If you're online, we are hearing you. Good afternoon.
Hello. No.
Okay, you might have to call back because we are not hearing you properly.
And you have to turn down your radio. You have to turn down your radio, and we're not hearing you clearly, brethren.
Okay, I guess you would call back.
Yeah.
The individual will call back. So the number to call is 451-7827 or 534-7827. We have a question here. Okay, let's take this call.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Yes. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, my Prime Minister.
Yes.
I love you very much.
Thank you very much.
Prime Minister, I live in Daphne, and the worker them who was doing the road, they leave back to the road. They can finish it from Terry.
They leave a what?
By the bridge. Huh?
I didn't hear you. You said they leave what?
Finish the road and finish it. But when I was doing,
Okay.
and it will finish it. And I heard somebody say that Friday say it's 3 months and the man is supposed to get paid, so they pack up and leave and they ain't come back.
The road in Daphne.
Yeah, Daphne. By Terry Gisco.
Who is the contractor who was doing the work, you know? Dipcon. Okay.
Yes.
I will find out. By the way, Dipcon's wife sadly passed away a couple of weeks ago, you know, and she was a very good woman. So I just want to know that you mentioned him.
And
hello.
From we on the block selling right by Terry.
Yeah.
He went in some, and when he come back, he said, Jelly, up there brighter than someone of tongue, dead, the whole tongue. Then I start to laugh. I said, well, it's all a good stuff.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's the whole thing with them.
Well,
the fire and the barrel.
Yes, and the well, you know the old saying, rain fall on those who do and those who ain't do.
Yes, Prime Minister.
And I will inquire about what happened to that road in Daphne and the
yes,
but the government ain't paying a lot of people. They ain't paying contractors.
But the guy them who mix in the car, they say they ain't get paid.
Yeah. That's what happening all over the country. And they're firing people left and right for political reasons. Hello? Yes.
The call jump out. So, one person is the operation is taking place in North Leeward. Why was last night's consultation not held in North Leeward? For it is the residents of that community who would be more adversely affected.
Where was it held?
I'm not too sure where it.
I thought it was North Leeward.
I thought it was North Leeward. Is the call for remittance to be invested that's right. A sign of the NDP government inability to secure the investment VG needs, St. Vincent needs.
Yes, I think, you see what happened? If you're not doing things, you come up with empty statements. Turn remittances into investments. I mean, the nature of remittances, they're about consumption.
Golden Grove Bookament, it was there last night.
They held that Bookament?
Yes. Persons are listening to the program.
No. The
Golden Grove in Bookament.
They mean Golden Grove. There's a Golden Grove down in North Leeward, you know.
I'm thinking that it could be North Leeward as well. So
no. It can't be Golden Grove Bookament. I don't think this is nutty. No.
Sure.
Had to be Golden Grove, Bookerman. I mean, I'm Golden Grove, North Leeward.
And this is coming from someone who is very reliable, to say the least. Very reliable. I'm hoping it's Golden Grove in North Leeward.
No,
Yes.
I don't.
Yes.
Persons might have seen Golden Grove and don't know that there's a Golden Grove also in North Leeward. You know, but we can check.
We can verify it.
Yeah. If they let it go ahead. I'll try and check it.
Someone is saying, hello, Comrade, do you have any information on when will they start those prefab house in Union Island? And also, I would like to have your number to discuss certain things. Okay. So
I don't know when they starting the thing on Union Island. I made my number public already, 533-2345.
Okay, so the person just messaged me. They're saying their apologies. It's Golden Grove in North Leeward.
I thought so.
Yes.
I thought so. Good. Yes. Any other? I just hope that my brethren, Ken Bartholomew, that he, if he didn't hear that, because I know today is a busy day for them on a Wednesday. I know they normally have meetings and the like. I'm hoping that he hears what I had to say, and if he didn't hear, to have it played back and he get a report and he can reply to some of these matters which I raise, and of course the minister, and of course physical planning. All right. Yeah.
Yes. So you can call 451-7827, 534-7827.
You know, I just get a text here from somebody who has advanced very much in a very special way at the community college, and the person has a particular achievement, and the person just wanted to say that I want to take a moment to thank you and let you know that your kindness made a difference. The person said, I'm honored by this accomplishment and look forward to using my education to positively impact on others with sincere appreciation. I get lots of these things, you know. And, you know.
I have a caller online.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello, yes.
Yes. Good afternoon, comrade. I love you. God bless you.
Thank you very much.
This country has expanded leaps and bounds. And who don't want that? Well, let us smoke it in the pipe.
Yes.
However, I wonder if anybody ever commended you for the work that you did in this street. I see that place as a highway in New York.
Yes.
I tell you, when I walk that street, I just go to pieces, comrade. Because I never see that kind of street in St. Vincent in all my life in Kingston.
Well, there are many physical changes which have been made for the better, and I really thank everybody who appreciated. All right.
I really appreciate that.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
I tell you, I feel like I want to fly away when I walk in that street.
Thank you.
It's such a beautiful place.
Thank you.
Oh my God.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
I thank you very much, comrade.
Thank you. God bless
You
you.
will live on.
Thank you.
You will succeed.
Thank you.
Don't worry.
Thank you.
God is good. He know you. He know what you have done for poor people in this country. Poor people have excelled in leaps and bounds.
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
And I don't know why people are saying that you haven't done anything for this country.
Well, that's all right.
You expanded this country in such a way that
I tell you,
nobody else would. Nobody else would and will not. I am sure about that.
I'm telling you this, anybody who says that I haven't done anything, and they're benefiting and living the benefit of the work that I do, they will never prosper. They will never prosper. And they will wonder, why is it they're not prospering? It's because they will have bad mind and they'll be hypocrites.
Exactly.
You know? So I don't really, I leave them to their own devices and to God, you know. And I go on and do what I have to do. I have lived more.
Bless you and keep you.
Thank you very much.
The Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. And nobody else can take that.
Thank you very much.
All right.
You know,
have a good evening.
thank you very much.
I love you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
I read this. I just got another text. Comrade, Friday and his unimaginative, prideful fools have certainly walked the nation off a cliff. They cannot pay SOL, and they are already behind on bills for recurrent expenditure. There is no attempt to prop up construction, and in general, nothing to drive the economy. Calamity is certain post-Carnival, that's after Carnival. In August, they'll be weeping and moaning. Well, weeping and moaning taking place right already. You might have gnashing of teeth. I need to go.
One before you go.
One before I go.
An individual on the live said that they want to know if you know that Sweet Eye passed away.
I know Sweet Eye passed away, and the family had been in touch with Eloise, who had always been in close touch with Sweet Eye. And I have the date for the funeral in my diary. I'm not so sure that I will be in St. Vincent, but I'll be represented anyhow. All right? Sweet Eye is a wonderful young lady. Terrible things which happened.
Wonderful young lady.
All right? And God bless. And we will never walk alone.